Florida State dismantles East Texas A&M. Tommy Castellanos makes another statement. And Duce Robinson, the guy I talked about on Friday, yeah, he is a big-time player for the Noles.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into the Locked On Seminoles channel. I am Brian Smith with the live Florida State postgame show. What a game for the Florida State Seminoles. Just absolutely bushwhacking East Texas A&M from front to back. They had players in the game that I didn't even know they had on the roster. It was awesome. The effort, the absolute domination in every form. You should beat a team like that badly. But the effort, if you take nothing else from this podcast away, note that Florida State deserved it. They played harder than they have in a lot of games that were ACC or rivalry games in the past. This is a great sign for Florida State football. Yeah, I knew they were going to win. So did you. How they did it, why they did it, in such a combination of ways, this is the kind of performance you can build on and start to think, hey, we might be a top 10 team. So the other 2 points today are just that. Florida State is trending 100% towards being a top 10 team. I'm going to say that again. Florida State is trending towards being a top 10 team. Even the most ardent Florida State fan probably did not expect me or really anybody else in the media to make that kind of statement after week 2 this season. Why would you? But they've earned it. As they say, that's why they play the games. The other statement, and I am steadfast in this and also surprised, Tommy Castellanos is trending towards being a guy that should at least start to get some mention with the Heisman. His control of the offense, his ability to throw the football deep, like obviously he's really good at it. And then finally, he runs when he needs to, but he doesn't lose control of the situation, doesn't get loose with the football. He doesn't put himself in harm's way. He is a very smart football player. So again, the effort today was tremendous. Florida State's a top 10 team, possibly. They're at least trending in that direction. Maybe let's see what they do against Virginia before we anoint them that. I'll give you that possibility. But then Tommy Castellanos, there's no doubt he is trending in the right direction as well. I love all of that. But now I want to jump into some stats just to give you kind of some post-game look. We're going to do offense, we'll do defense, and then I will talk about the third down stats. I got all of them for the screen here, and to be really honest with you, it is as dominant as you might have thought, and it's pretty convincing, to put it mildly. Like, this is crazy. Florida State, just looking at the totals, 237 yards, 3 touchdowns for Tommy through the air, and he did it on 11 passes. 11. I mean, you could say whatever you want, but when you could do it on that few of throws, that's pretty impressive. Oh, by the way, just random stat today. I posted this on the Locked On Seminoles X page. Not 1, not 2, but 3 different times today, Florida State had a touchdown of 53 yards. That is the definition of random. So if your favorite number is 53 for some odd reason, today was your day. But looking at the rushing totals, looking at the passing totals, over 300 yards each, everybody really got involved. Jalen got involved. There was Cam Davis came off the bench and did a nice job. Obviously, Tommy, Keziah, everybody had a contribution in some way, shape, or form. And then Sam had a 53-yarder as well. This was the kind of performance where it gets really interesting, because now it's like, we really have the depth to do whatever we want. Sam Singleton was the 6th running back. This is his 3rd year in Tallahassee. Holy cow, is that a great sign? Now, they're not throwing it a lot because obviously, they didn't have to against this kind of opponent. But when they did, they were still really efficient, like dynamically so. How would you not be excited about that if you're a Florida State fan? It's awesome to see. As for the ability to do it in rhythm, that's not really in debate. As for the ability to do it because you needed to, like longer yardage situations, I know that, again, it's East Texas A&M, but Florida State was still able to slay that dragon as well. Why would I not be happy with all of it? I mean, Florida State was in a scenario where they could have easily just kind of given up on some of those plays or taken it easy. They were aggressive when they had 3rd and 5 or longer, and they made it happen. And maybe the play that I liked the most was throwing it up to Duce for his second touchdown. The long one is the fun one, but the other one, he catches it with one hand, by the way. It's really neat, but it was pretty good coverage. Now, I know they threw the flag on the guy late, but it's the fact that Tommy let the ball go and allowed his 6'5 plus receiver to go get it. A lot of guys see the DB next to a good receiver and they check off him and they move on to their next progression. Tommy Castellanos did not do that with Duce Robinson. He let it rip. He let it go, and then Duce rewarded him. Duce Robinson made a tremendous catch in the left corner of the end zone to put the Noles up with another score, and the route began pretty much at that point. I'm curious now that teams have seen, okay, when they want to, they can throw it to Duce quite a bit. Will we have several games like this? I don't know, but today officially 5 catches, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, long of 82, average of 34.6. He was targeted 6 times, so he caught 5 out of his 6. After that, here's the ironic part. Excuse me. Florida State had 11 guys make the reception, but only two had multiple receptions. Duce with 5, and then Mekhi Danzy with 2 for 14. And, of course, Mekhi had a 53-yard touchdown run as well. He is so fast. It's insane. But they did such a good job of spreading it around. Javen Boggs had a touchdown, by the way. That was Kevin Sperry. We'll get into him in a little bit. Kevin Sperry's first touchdown pass was Javen Boggs' first touchdown reception for 3 yards in the back of the end zone. Sawchuk had a 53-yarder. Chroma had a 43-yarder. Amari Williams had 35-yarder. Elijah Moore had a 15-yarder. Tariq Mallory, he had a 14-yarder. Florida State's in a really good spot all of a sudden at receiver because the run game's so good, and I want to talk about that here in about 30 seconds, that they can just pound away and they catch defenses flat-footed in the secondary. They got running backs, tight ends, and receivers going full tilt at DBs who are looking in the backfield. That's why Gus always talks about throwing the ball down the field after you establish the inside run. It's a pretty easy concept to grasp when you see it live, but today was an example with an exclamation point. Florida State dominated physically because they're way better, but mentally they were focused and they wanted to make a statement. They did it with the run and with the pass. And to be frank, it was pretty darn awesome. Now, before I jump into the defensive side of the ball, something else that I really want to talk about here. Florida State's offensive line. They were really good. Give them credit. I know it's East Texas A&M, but you still have to provide time for Tommy to throw and to open up the lanes. The consistency's there was something I was curious about. And even guys like Daniels came in off the bench, got playing time at right tackle, etc. They're starting to build that depth. I want to come back, talk about that, talk more offense, and then get into the defensive stats. I'm going to do one break, and this is the only break I'm going to do in terms of the show itself. There'll be some, if you're watching YouTube later, there'll be some, but for the live show, this is going to be the only break that I do. And again, we'll do a few more stats offensively, and then we'll talk more about the ability for Florida State's defense. Like they may have been more locked in than the offense. So that is next here on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by Mazda. You can just move through life, or you can find the things that move you. It is your choice. You can choose to get out there, choose your people. You can choose to go for it, like really go for it. Just choose to do something that moves you. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's show is also brought to you by DoorDash. It's the weekend again, and we're talking about this week's MVP. Which one do you want to go with? I'm going to go Duce Robinson based on his 5 catches, 2 scores, 160 yards. Could have been several other people too, obviously Tommy Castellanos, but Florida State absolutely got it done. And just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, Florida State was streaking down the field with Duce Robinson leading the way. Florida State's Duce Robinson today was just focused. The catch for the bomb was pretty easy. The one-handed grab in the end zone was not. He also had the snag inside the 10 where he went up high to get it, used his length, used his height, used his athleticism. He was my player of the game, and he is really trending in the right direction. Now, if a player like Duce is going to make the plays, Florida State's got to keep on getting him the ball. So let's see what he does over the next few games. DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks, so you save every Saturday when you order. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo code through November the 18th. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst, covering your Noles for you. And I had a blast watching the game today, putting out tweets on LO_Seminoles on X, just talking about the game and the rhythm. But again, the effort. So important that Florida State showed they wanted to get better, even though they were playing a completely inferior opponent. And shout out to East Texas A&M. They played hard. They just don't have the size and speed that the Noles do. It is what it is. But you got to dominate those teams, play after play after play. And goodness, did Florida State ever. Now, I want to put up the stats for the defense, but I want to briefly discuss a couple of other quick things here as it relates to what's going on with the offense too. Kevin Sperry, I mentioned that he came in and did a really good job. I was very, very happy with him. But the thing that I noticed more than anything else is they've tinkered with his motion maybe just a little bit. Anybody wants to comment on that, fire away. I'll get in the chat here in just a minute. But I was happy with him. And also, again, as I noted right before the break, they've got a bevy of receivers. Moore caught a pass, and they have running backs, like all the running backs catching the ball. Jalen involved in the offense as a runner. They are so balanced now. It's so ironic because last year they weren't anything, to be really honest. They are so balanced. This offense with the speed that the Noles have, and remember, Landon Thomas is not even out there yet. He's not. And he's not the only one. They have other guys that are banged up. They're going to get healthier. They're going to have more weapons. Florida State has a lot of options. They have a lot of options. I don't think there's any way you can sit there and say, if you're a Noles fan, that you're not excited about the depth of the receiving group and kind of how they look, like the size and the length of some of the players. Then you got a guy like Jalen that gets in behind some of these big linemen. He's hard to catch anyway. He's only about 5'7", but really good group. Now, looking at the defensive side of the ball, I was really impressed with Ashlynd Barker early, and they rotated a ton of guys. So the total tackle numbers for each individual is not high, but they played a ton of players and they dominated. Barker was my MVP early. Darrell Jackson would have been a close second. He was involved or around the ball a lot. And again, if you've ever paid any attention to this show in the last 6 months, you've heard me talk about how important it is for Big Darrell to play that nose spot, that zero technique at a three-man line. There just aren't many human beings built like that. 6'6", 330 plus and athletic, can't teach it. Can't teach it. He frees up Cryer, Nicholson, anybody else that's playing linebacker on that play. And they rotate pretty freely there as well. This is a good group, man. It really is. And they got Jaden Parrish in the game today. I loved him out of high school. Earl Little was another heat-seeking missile. Deontay McCray. Cromartie got in the game. They just played so well, excuse me, at rallying to the football. There were some missed run gap bits, especially they had one early. I don't know who that running back was. He play where he hurdled somebody for Florida State. That was pretty impressive. But overall, Florida State's run gap bits were good. They rallied to the football, and they did not, I repeat, they did not mess around when it came to the ability to hit when they could. And they did a pretty good job against mobile quarterbacks, by and large, of keeping them inside the tackle box, or at least inside the tight end box. And they just forced them to throw into tight windows in under duress when it was a pass rushing situation. So under 200 yards of offense for East Texas, they weren't very good. But still, if you hold anybody under 200 yards, you're kicking their butt. Florida State did that today, and they did it again. I'll say it probably another 20 times. Effort. You can never have enough of that when you have a team like Florida State that's got this many young players. It's building your culture again, your seniors, your juniors. They're leading the way they should. It's awesome. Now, before I completely just go into the chat again, note on Kevin Sperry. He looked really good today, running and throwing. I liked his motion. They may, just going to throw it out there, I'm not confirming this, but they may not need to go to the portal after this season. After all, I think that's a pretty interesting part of this. So we'll see. The other thing here that I want to mention, just a couple of third down stats to kind of go over while we have the moment. Florida State was, like, not surprisingly, very, very dominant. 10 out of 14 on third down for the Noles, 71.4%. Average third down to go was 5.2, but for East Texas, it was 8.5. Florida State did a very good job third down passing, 3 for 3 for 75 yards. Third down rushes, 10 carries for 99 yards. Just a really, really consistent play on any situation, really. They were just consistent across the board. I'm not sure what Norvell, Gus, and Tony and all of them did to bottle up the emotion, but it is incredibly rare to see a team this inferior come into your house and you get the focus of your players and they play hard all the way through. Most college football players look at the other team's helmet. That dictates, rightly or wrongly, how much effort they put into preparation and game day. It causes a lot of the upsets, and that's why the NFL is such more of a consistent league compared to what Florida State has. But again, 71.4%, you held East Texas to 25% on third downs. You were just really, really good in those circumstances. And the accuracy in the passing game and the plethora of guys, I am very, very pleased, as I'm sure you can tell. And to be honest, why would I not be? Florida State earned it. They did it the right way, and they did it pretty much across the board. So, all right, I'm going to jump into the chat. If I miss one of your posts or whatever, my apologies. But the Noles, obviously, there's a lot of good things to comment about. Let's see. Rhinos, I don't remember seeing Blake. He played. He didn't play as much this weekend. There was one play, it was like a little screen or something. The ball came down to his feet, but he didn't play very much. I don't know if he tweaked something or if he's just further out of the depth chart or if he'd been banged up a little. He did play. But you're right, he didn't play much. Garrett, my only concern was short yardage situations early on. True. Ooze ain't quite ready to be the hammer on third. Got to have it. Sawchuck is very impressive. I like Sawchuck's pad level and his lean. When he first, I don't know if many of you know this, but when he's coming out of high school, some thought he was the best running back in the country. He's from Colorado. He's a burner, but he's added more muscle and he's changed his running style a little bit. He's more of a power runner than he's ever been before. I think that Sawchuck is one of those guys that he deserves some credit too. He's improved consistently. I think he's a guy that could lead FSU in rushing, especially if Rodell's out for a good bit this year. Let's see here. Rhinos, it's great to see the team get a lot of big plays. It really is. And again, 3 times today, 53 yards. How odd is that? 3 53-yard touchdowns. Mike Merrick, what's up, man? Noles handled their business. This team is awesome. Gus and Tony are big time. Go Noles. Mike, go nuts. By the way, shout out to all the new coaches for helping the momentum, the leadership, the focus, the game prep, and the game day focus as well. They all deserve some of that credit. So there's no way around it. Mike also says, man, they have depth. That's something we didn't see last year. Like it's amazing when you have guys that are bought in. How many more players you really have on your roster? Is it not? I think that's a lot of fun. Garrett, Ethan Pritchard's father broke the rock. Pretty cool. Mike gave a very emotional post-game speech. This team, unlike last season, is a family. Post of the day from Garrett. I'm glad to hear that Pritchard's dad was involved in any way, shape, or form. Breaking the rock's especially cool. But it's great that they involved him in that manner. I'm sure it's a stress release for him. And if you don't know, his son, Ethan, man, he was shot the day after the game or the night of the game last week. And he's been in the hospital ever since. So that is a really crazy situation. I knew Ethan going through the Sanford Seminole program and all that. And it's just wild that he's been shot. Let's see what we got next here. I don't know. That shouldn't be all of them. How many did I pull up here? These are some random posts. Devin Fennell. I know it's a nobody team, but I'm starting to get 2013 vibes. I don't know about 2013. I don't know if Florida State has that kind of depth. That team was insanely good. But Florida State is kicking the crap out of teams at the line of scrimmage. It really is amazing. It really, really is. What do you think the score would be with last year's team? I mean, they would have won, but it'd been like 27-10 or something because they would have shot themselves in the foot. They just would have. Florida State would have done a lot of stupid stuff. It's hard to say. You know what I mean? Rick Flair, he's asking me still 8 wins. At this point, I think the objective is not necessarily the wins. The minimum I look at it is you have to make the ACC title game. Does that make sense? Like, that wouldn't be 8 wins. It'd be more than that. But, like, your line play is better than anticipated. And while they're not the deepest, I'll get into more discussion about this. Is a great topic. How many games can Florida State win? That'll be one of my probably Monday or Tuesday, actually, because they're off this coming week. How many games can the Noles win? I don't know. Alabama wasn't near as good as we thought, but Florida State bounced them. And then this team was completely inferior. But again, you did what you should do, and you handled your business against an inferior team. They've had 2 challenges, and they've exceeded expectations in both. I think that's the way that it should be. Why not 9 or 10 wins? Why not more? Florida State's schedule, just looking at it, you got the goofy Friday night game. I really don't like the Virginia game in a few weeks. That's another helmet game. You're not going to tell me Florida State's going to be 100% up for that. I know that's not what coaches want to hear. The week before Miami, that one scares me. You got the weird Virginia Tech game. They're not very good. You could be sleeper for that one. NC State's the week on the road, by the way, the week before you go to Gainesville. There's some goofy games. You've got to prove that you're going to win those, but they're better than those teams. Then you got Miami at home. You've got Clemson on the road. And, of course, again, you got the Gators on the road. Those 3 teams have similar or more talent. How many can you win? So, to me, like 9 needs to be your minimum at this point. It needs to be your minimum. If anybody wants to argue that, that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But right now, because of last year, when you combine it, all the changes with the roster, especially with Tony coming, I think Tony's the biggest influence. Gus will get more discussion because offense sells tickets, gets clicks, but that defense is very complex to pick up, and they've gotten to figure it out. That shocks me in a great way. If that defense continues to not give up gash plays where you just have busts, that's a top 25 defense this year. And let me be very clear on this. For what Tony wants to run, he can run 3 or 4-man front. This is the only year that he's going to be able to run it with Big Darrell. Darrell's gone after this year. He is the rarest of rare players, a 6'6", 330 guy that can play defensive end or nose guard. They got it's not out of the question they could have a top 10 run defense in the nation. It's at least in the conversation, even against their schedule with Florida out of conference and Alabama out of conference. That's how well they're run gap fitting. And again, Darrell changes the dynamic because against quality opponents, even not many teams are going to be able to single block it. The kid from Miami, who's Brockermeyer, the transfer from TCU, I believe. And then Jake Slaughter, a kid I know who was committed to Florida State at one point for going to Florida, the center at UF. He may be the best center in the country. Those 2 battles, by the way, will be as good as any line play battles in the nation this year. If those 2 teams can single block Darrell, they got a chance, but we'll see. Clemson's O-line's for some reason not as good as I thought. That game could be much different. Right now, to me, that's about a pick 'em game, which is shocking, but Clemson's just not as good as they should be. And they've got some injuries to overcome too. So we'll see. We'll see. Rhinos. UVA looked good on offense today. They've got a veteran quarterback. So if you don't have a good scheme, you're in trouble. You probably need corners against that guy. He's seen a lot. So maybe Virginia's this year's surprise team. You never know. Robert Snyder now beat Virginia and University of Coral Gables, and we got something. That's true. We got an off week. Kent State didn't play at Virginia, then Miami. That's pretty interesting. Did Cam Davis get a touch? Yes, Cam Davis did. He had 2 carries for 13 yards or something like that. Let's see. Cam got a few carries. Tim Peoples, Sperry looked great. Yes, he did. Let's talk about that for a second. If you have any comments or questions, hit the chat. I will happily let it rip because this is fun. This is what covering Florida State football for me should be like. Effort, speed, size, congruency with what you're doing, understanding your concepts offensively, defensively, special teams. This is what it's supposed to look like. No doubt. So Kevin Sperry, a couple things. Number one, if you came into the game and you didn't know that he was, quote, A, the backup, and B, a freshman, the way he carried himself, the way he's built, you just said there's no way that's a true freshman. No way. He's a pretty good-sized kid now. He's got to be over 200 pounds now, and he is strong. As a runner, no fear, but he knew when to, get down. He's got good foot speed, and he's a guy that's got a natural throwing motion. That's a guy that you talk about a fit for Gus's offense, and they have him as a freshman. He's got a chance to be very, very good. I highly doubt he redshirts. Highly doubt it. They may have him, and I know every week's different, but they may need to get him ready because I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again right now. At some point, Tommy's going to get dinged. It's the nature of football. Sperry's a guy that may have to come in and carry the water for 2.5 games. He might. And I'm not saying Brock Glenn couldn't do it, but I'd rather have Kevin in there because he's such a good runner. I didn't think I was going to throw that out there because I don't remember what the conversation was last week. Maybe it was during this week, maybe both. Somebody brought up Sperry, and I commented on it. I'm like, look, I think he's pretty gifted. He's got a lot of talent. But do you really want a true freshman out there? He may just be the guy. And that's just where Florida State's at, too. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But at worst, you would have a true freshman gaining a ton of valuable experience going into next year. It's exciting. It's fun to talk about Florida State having quarterback depth. What in the world is that? We certainly didn't look at it from that same perspective this past season. Rhinos, Brock looked comfortable today. He did. That's another great point. Brock Glenn looked comfortable. I didn't think he'd be a very good fit for this offense at all. There's a lot of lateral stuff, and Gus wants to make guys miss with lateral cuts, one-on-ones. Brock's more of a north-south get-going guy than he is somebody that's going to zigzag through a defense. Make one cut, get upfield, dive, and he's done. You can manage that, but for Gus's offense to really get rolling, he needs a quarterback to make people miss, and that's why I'd rather have Sperry, just for me, that's just my opinion, as the second quarterback. T.D. Wilson, nobody can stop Danzy on the reverse jet sweep. Isn't it crazy how fast that dude is? I mean, it's insane. What was it? He ran 44.38 in the 400. That is just floating. Like, I've seen Mekhi live. I've had a chance to be around him when he was in high school. And he told me he ran sub 45. And I'm like, what? But he's getting close to sub 44. Sub 44. So if he turns the corner and gets his shoulder square, that first step, he hits full stride. You can't be that fast without hitting full speed. Under 45 in the 400 is world class, period. They showed it for those of you that may have missed it. That clip of him running the 400 this year, like there was nobody near him. Those are big time athletes. They're going to find a lot of ways to make him impactful. Now, every time that he's in the game, the other team, absolutely, unequivocally, has to know where he's at. They don't even have to throw it to him or give it to him. They can just run him in motion, give Cam Davis the ball, Chroma the ball, Jalen Lucas the ball, Rodell Williams the ball, Gavin Sawchuk the ball, Sam Singleton the ball. But after you fake to him, you're a linebacker. You have to either guess wholeheartedly he's not getting it or he is. Because if you go by your normal read, you're not catching him. Inside linebackers will not be a part of the play. They have to guess. That's not a friendly place to be. He has world-class speed. That's a lot of fun. Let's see. Darrell Jackson got a sack. He did. He also had a few plays around the line of scrimmage that don't show up in the stats too, where he moved the pile, took up a blocker, gave an opportunity for a safety and a linebacker to get in play. By the way, shout out to the safeties that were shooting down. There were multiple. I'm not going to single out any one. They were coming downhill like an extra backer and really making it difficult. Really making it difficult. Rhinos. I don't remember seeing Blake Nicholson. I know I saw him. Maybe I'm just crazy, but it was only like on one play. He went from from the middle to the left, like a incomplete screen or something like that. But maybe I'm thinking it was him and it was somebody else. They got that other guy that plays linebacker. It might have been him. So maybe I got it screwed up. Garrett. My only concern was a short. Okay, I already got through those. All right, let me see what else we got here. Let's see. We got William McMillan. So glad that Sperry's quarterback too. I agree. It's a fit, and the kids picked it up. So, hey, let it roll. Rhinos, this team proves that something culture is more important than star rankings. Sometimes that's absolutely true. You got to have stars for your offense, your defense. Like Darrell's going to be an NFL player. For the offensive fit, you're really not going to find something better than Tommy. And then Duce, yeah, he's absolutely a star. But those linemen, like how many of those offensive linemen are really going to be drafted? Pettibone will be. After that, I don't know. Maybe Pettis, because like his size, somebody might take that chance. But I'm not sure. But they're still playing very well as a unit. Jay Corner, 1-7. Finally, coaches that want to leave no doubt on either side of the ball. Amen to that. Great post and 100% freaking true. Will be 93. Go Noles. Garrett, was it smart to have Squirrel as a punt returner? I know injuries happen, but for a coach who brags about special teams, we can't seem to get it right at punt returner. I don't know what the deal is with that. Just hear me out here. There are about 5 to 10 schools that you could just play grab bag with as many wide receivers, DBs, and running backs you have and have a good punt game. Why in the world is Florida State not one of those? But the skills talent that the Noles have. That's a great question. They need to fix punt. They need to get better at that. I don't know what the deal is there. Rhinos. Brian, how does it feel covering the team this season compared to last? Have you ever been someplace and you're walking along and you have found like a $20 bill on the ground? That's what this feels like compared to walking along and you're in front of your peers and you trip and fall on your face. That's about the difference. That's about the difference. Because this season, I have so many things to talk about. It's easier to do shows, and it's just more fun to do shows. Last year, I couldn't do anything but be negative. People would complain. I'm like, what do you want me to talk about? They're getting trounced by North Carolina, who wasn't even any good. So it was hard last year because just from a material standpoint, it was garbage to choose from. And then on top of that, I mean, at some point, fans just don't want any part of it. And I don't blame any of y'all. Like if you turned it off at some point last year, I understand. Why would you watch a team that wasn't going to a bowl? So, for that record, just to throw it out, if Florida State doesn't win at least 8 games at this point, I would think they'd had massive injuries like Tommy, Duce, Darrell. At this point, if they don't win at least 8, correct me if I'm wrong, it'd be pretty shocking, right? Like they're focused and they've got team chemistry. They don't win at least 8 games, like everything went sideways. And if they are lucky enough injury-wise, that's big if, 10 wins is certainly not off the table at all. Florida State is a completely different football team in 2025. Let's see here. Enosh Newby. Earl Little is giving me 2022 Jamie Robinson. Ooh, that's a big statement. Always around the ball and looking to make a play. Thank you, Tony White. Hey, Earl was just a guy last year. He was a little lost. He played some early, played less, kind of made a little bit of a comeback, but they switched the scheme and he figured it out, and here we are. Garrett, how about Jermaine Johnson's brother Jeremiah getting 5 carries for 25 today? 13 players recorded at least 1 rush. Amen. Florida State ran the football pretty much at will. Let me see if I can find it. I might still have it up. Florida State, let me see if I can find their total here. I'll read off a few of the game stats, if you will, just in totality. Florida State's total yards, 729, 368 through the air, 361 rushing. That's about as balanced as it's going to get, folks. They only had 3 penalties. They had 29 first downs. They were 10 of 14 on third. They had 71 plays ran. Average yards per play, this is insane, 10.3. Average yards per completion. You ready for this? Florida State averaged 23 yards per catch. That's insane. Let's see. Red zone, Noles were 4 out of 5. They barely won the time of possession. Not that that really matters in today's game. They had 3 sacks and 9 tackles for loss. So overall, pretty darn good day. Christian, aside from Tommy Castellanos, who is the most important player that will contribute to FSU having a 10-win season? This is easy. I just talked about it. It is not competitive. It is Darrell Jackson. You cannot run an effective 3-man front without a big-time nose guard. And when I mean 3-man front, I'm not talking about a one gap. We're taking a million chances, blitz crazy scheme. I'm talking about traditional, more NFL style, my dude better than your dude, 3-man style. And that's what Florida State's running. They're not super aggressive with it because they want to play in layers. It's similar to the concept, at least somewhat, to what Kirby does at Georgia. He calls it layers defense. He's explained this on TV before. You have one wave, the running back comes through, he's got a second wave. It's like pinball. It's really hard. And if you've got a 280, 290-pound nose guard that's quick and makes plays, that's nice. But Darrell has that kind of athleticism at over 330. If you want to go with one guy on him, by all means. But how often did you see on the replay, especially when they did vertical replay, and Darrell's just, he's just too strong. There are only maybe 2 or 3 guys like him in college football. That's the difference. Without him, Florida State's not winning 10 games. If he gets hurt next week, they're not winning 10 games. Changes your defense completely. They got one guy like that with his experience and his length. I know there's a certain freshman that'll be back in the lineup in a few weeks that'll help too, who's the next nose guard. But the length that Darrell has at 6'6" is just ideal. So I would say Darrell is definitely number 2. Enosh, I'd say the whole offensive line unit, they're very valuable. We still got to answer that bell at some point when somebody goes out during a game, Clemson, Florida, Miami, whatever. How do they react? How does Florida State's line react when a player goes down and they got to move the ball? They're in a competitive ball game. That's something we just don't know yet. O-lines are about 5 guys playing as one. It's always iffy. Talent isn't always the story. It's hard to project. Will be 93. Any update on Rodell? Listed as undisclosed after last Saturday. I haven't heard anything more. They're just not holding information for the heck of it. They are going out of their way not to give anybody anything. I have no idea what it is, and if I did, I'm not going to announce it, but I haven't even inquired. Because of the schedule, they can just talk like that. They don't need him. They don't need him. My guess is the earliest he would play is Virginia. And I would, if I had to pick, I'm guessing the earliest he plays is Miami. And I have no idea what his injury is. There are only a handful of teams on the schedule that can play with Florida State the way they're playing. They're not going to announce it to their star players. They're not going to play them unless they're 100% healthy, pretty much. 95%. They got enough depth they can kind of, I know this is mean, bash most of the teams on the schedule. So it is what it is. Let's see. Oh, yeah, no problem, brother. I think that Florida State will be that way. Like, they've got enough guys at safety and corner, et cetera. They're going to rotate guys all year long. Let's see. Garrett, will anyone be able to stop the end around with Danzy? How he wasn't utilized last season is nuts. Well, they didn't – wasn't he – he was at receiver last year. They didn't use it. I don't know why Mike didn't – I don't know. No, he was at running back last year. They still could have done that, though. And they could have used him on speed option, toss sweep, that play where you just take the hike and you just kind of pitch it. They've done that a couple times. I don't know. Getting him to the edge does seem kind of natural. Seeing him run live, I had the chance to see him run in high school. That is one fast dude. Rhinos. The O-line is as important as Tommy. Yeah, Florida State last year, I don't think it's debatable. Those were the two worst positions, but I would say O-line was worse than quarterback. It was worse than quarterback. That's pretty bad. They didn't have any semblance of knowing where to go and when to go. It was a complete hodgepodge of what in the world is this? Brutal. Absolutely brutal. So thankfully, Florida State has kind of figured that out. I'm going to do a recap tomorrow and kind of go over things, break it down from a statistical perspective. And I'm also going to talk about, okay, now these young guys, Sperry in particular, have played. How should Florida State handle their business the next couple of weeks? I want you to think about this as I wrap up the show. Florida State is in a scenario now where they got a week off. Florida State then has Kent State. Then they have a game at Virginia, again, Friday night ball game. How do you handle your business in practice, in preparation, and during games? Not any one of the three, all of them combined. Today, they showed that they did everything right. Mentally, they were in the right place. Effort was there, and it's clear that they prepared because the practice plays lead to the touchdowns of the game. You don't have that many long touchdowns without preparing throughout the week the way that you should. Can they also do all those things with incorporating more young guys? That is the key question. Whether it's Kevin behind quarterback, whether it's Duce twins playing more than they already have. By the way, they're both good football players. Stephon Thompson, Blake Nicholson. I don't care who it is in the lineup. Can they play with that consistency with more depth? If they're going to get to 10 wins like I talked about earlier, that's the key for Florida State. They're not going anywhere in terms of like going to the playoff or the ACC title game or even beating Miami, Florida, any of that, unless they can continue to add depth. They're still not as deep as they need to be. Trust me, they're not. But they improved way more than I thought they would for the season. It's only game 2. Did anybody really think that Duce twins would be playing this much and this effectively? I mean, really. That's a great sign. You're 6 deep at running back. Sam's a pretty good running back. He is the 6th dude. Wide receiver, need to see more, but they haven't thrown it that much. But Elijah played pretty well. Danzy's obviously a threat every time he gets near the ball. You got Wayne McCoy that'll be back off injury soon. You've got so many different weapons. I'd like to see BJ Gibson get the ball a little bit. But Florida State, there's no reason to think they can't be a dominant, not just a good, but a dominant team. I'm very excited for their future. And, man, I tell you what, the next couple of weeks, it's going to be key. We won't get to see it, but it's going to be key for that Virginia-Miami stretch and then the gauntlet through the ACC and ending in Gainesville against the Gators. So why not at least 8 wins? Like that's at this point, that's the floor. If Florida State does not achieve 8 wins, I am in the camp that now believes significant injuries at key spots on both sides of the ball will pretty much have to happen. They've got a good enough culture. I don't see how that wouldn't be the objective for anybody that covers this and looks at it from an overall perspective. That's my take. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you to everybody that came in today, that competed with me through this game all the way through, because it got pretty ugly there watching the game, but it was fun. I enjoyed it, and thank you for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Please like, please subscribe, please come back and be an everyday here on the Locked On Seminoles show. I truly appreciate it. We will see you again tomorrow on Locked On Seminoles.